we're not the ones building. We're the ones creating the right environment for it. So yes, it took time. Yes, the 2 years that the Chantier Montréal was together, all the other things that we did before that, we were in record numbers.
Okay, so
2019,
I just want to get you on the record here. You believe Projet Montréal has been developing an environment where people want to build. That's the real story here of this administration over the last 7 years.
We are building the environment so that everybody who wants to build and build for the needs of Montrealers can build. That's what we're doing. And we're going to continue doing that until, we are in power.
Okay.
We're creating the baseline for that. We want the teams to be doing that in all the boroughs. So we're working really hard on providing the right environment for people to build.
Despina Surias, Côte-de-Neige NDG councillor, was on this program yesterday. Of course, this has been an interesting week when it comes to housing and building in this city, because there was a report out that showed that over the last 4 years, the wait time for building permits had doubled. Some boroughs in Montreal, it's now 610 days to get a building permit. Let's keep that discussion going with Kaila Munro, a borough councillor in Verdun, also president of the Economic and Urban Development and Housing Commission. Hi, Kaila. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Elias. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this. And I had an animated discussion with your colleague yesterday on this program. The thing that stuck out to me as I went down the list of boroughs and the data that we saw this week, Projet Montréal boroughs had significantly worse records than boroughs controlled by other parties, whether it's Ensemble or the Anjou party there. And I put the dots together, and the question I have is, maybe there's something about your party that goes against development of the city. How would you respond to that?
We actually can see that there's more density in the boroughs where Projet Montréal is there. So when you have more dense boroughs, like Verdun is becoming more and more dense with construction, naturally it's going to cause more cohabitation and more need. There's also more patrimonial aspects in many of the boroughs that are represented by Projet Montréal. So when you touch everything heritage in terms of buildings, you might need to go to the Comité Jacques Vigée at the city center to make sure that what you're doing is keeping heritage alive, right?
Okay, so listen, I get your point, right? Like, so to say, well, look, Outremont's 200 days, Mercier, Hochelaga, Maisonneuve is 600 days. That really is an unfair comparison. Point taken there. But I'm talking about comparing the changes in those boroughs, right? So in Hochelaga Maisonneuve, right, it went from 200-something days to 610 days over the course of 4 years. Looking at the boroughs themselves, the places in the city where the time stayed the same or decreased are not controlled by Projet Montréal. So when we look at that, I don't know if your explanation makes much sense, because I don't want to compare Anjou with the Plateau. That's not fair.
Exactly.
But the percentage changes within those boroughs, boy, do the Projet boroughs have a bad track record within their own boroughs over the last 4 years.
I mean, I really think there's a lot of elements to take into effect, and it's easy to just take one part of the picture and look at it that way. But if you're thinking of central boroughs like Plateau, Mont-Royal, like Ville-Marie, Sud-Ouest, it really doesn't compare, as you say, to Anjou or boroughs that are on the outskirts.
Okay, so then why did the mayor commit, on the same day that this report came out, why did the mayor then say, hey, we're going to put a 120-day deadline? It certainly seems like even the mayor is admitting that you've gone down the wrong path when it comes to building permits.
We actually were planning to talk about housing for a long time. We're on it, basically. The 120 days is a clear sign that we want to solve the housing crisis and that we need to address permits. It's not a new issue. It doesn't come out of the blue. We've been working on it for years. There's the cellule facilitatrice, a new director at the city Direction Générale. So all of these moves have been, ongoing. As chair of the Commission on Economic Development, Urban and Housing, I've worked on it too. It's really something that we've looked at for a while. So I think if we're looking at this week, you can get a picture. But from a long standpoint, these are things we're highly aware of and have been trying to push and have been pushing for construction to solve the housing crisis.
At the end of the day, this affects the lives of those who want to live and rent an apartment in your borough in Verdun. I think about working class neighborhoods and NDG and Côte-de-Neige and all the rest of them, right? These are people, they're facing July 1st like we all do, and they're looking at rent situations, and they have increased an enormous amount over the 7 years now that Projet Montreal has been in power. I look at those two things. I say, man, I don't know if everything can just be a coincidence here. Are you willing to admit that maybe there are some policies that Projet Montreal has stuck with that perhaps have led to some of the increase? Not all. I don't think all of the blame can go on you, but can some of the blame go to some policies that have been done by Projet Montreal over the last 7 years?
If I look at what the mayor ran on in 2017 election, she was talking about housing before everyone else was. So this problem was coming to us. If you look at intergenerational equity, young families that surround me as a councillor, you can really see that we've painted ourselves in a corner in a way collectively. On the provincial side as well, there's more and more talk about the housing crisis. But as far as Projet Montréal, the way I see it, it's been something that we've been working on for the 7 years, and that we've seen in our previous campaign, in the first campaign. So we saw it coming, essentially. Okay,
so I wanted to talk about one more subject here while we have the time. We're with Kaila Munro, Borough Councillor in Verdun, President of the Economic and Urban Development and Housing Commission. So there's a story out of St. Henry, also in the Sud-Ouest Borough, near the school where they put a safe inhalation site. There are a lot of people, including me, that before this safe inhalation site opened said, this is not a good idea. When you invite drug use into an area, it will lead to a bad situation. Our colleagues across the street at CTV Montreal went to this area next to the school and the safe inhalation site yesterday. And what they saw while they were filming there, they saw disturbances. They had parents tell them that they had someone try and pee on one of their children. Sex acts in public, right? It's gotten really bad. When you see that story, what do you think should be done for the residents in that area, the parents that say the move was the wrong one and we need to get their streets back for the parents and children?
It's important first and foremost to listen to these concerns, and they really resonate. As a new mother, we had the temporary shelter on Gordon that was actually next to my own daycare. So these concerns are natural, and I think our first thing to do is to listen to them and to legitimize them. They are serious concerns, and they need to be addressed. Now, on the flip side, as a councillor, I've been seeing how we speak with the police, the community organizations. We create neighbor committees. So those are all tools that can be done to address the problems as they happen and really get a good grasp on the situation.
Was there a mistake made to allow a safe inhalation site so close to a school?
It's not the borough I represent. I can hear you. What you're asking me for yes or no. I think, as I said, the concerns are legitimate and I understand them. And it's a ongoing work to assess the situation, address the issues, that those things need to happen and need to occur. I'm not a social worker expert. Mm-hmm. There are social workers on the ground that perhaps could answer that question, and that I think the situation will continue to evolve. And if it needs to be moved, I trust the administration will eventually move it. And if it was located there, I know there was the analysis that was done, much like what happened in Verdun in my own borough. We looked at what happened, and all in all, it was a positive experience. At the end, it worked.
Kaila, listen, I know there's plenty of good news that comes out of Verdun, and unfortunately the news of the week meant that we had to tackle the hard news, but come back real soon and we will talk about the good stuff as well, okay?
Thanks, Elias.
That's Kaila Munro, Borough Councillor in Verdun, President of the Economic and Urban Development and Housing Commission.